Hi, welcome back to my class on cross-cultural understanding with me, Andreas Yulianto from Jakarta International University, Indonesia. Today's topic is about language and intercultural communications in the global workplace. Let's begin our discussions with the learning objectives. There are some learning objectives that are provided here. The first, by the end of this chapter, you are expected to be able to discuss the impact of globalizations on today's workforce. Second, describe the role of English in the global workforce. Third, define diversity and identify the benefits of diversity for the global workplace. Fourth, discuss the role of language, culture, power in the global workplace. Fifth, identify challenges to diversity in the global workplace. Sixth, explain the key elements in 5 cultural difference frameworks employed by social scientists to explain intercultural communications in the workplace. Seventh, discuss the impact of the cultural difference frameworks on the intercultural business education and diversity training. Eight, identify the limitations and dangers of the cultural difference frameworks. Ninth, explains the interpretive, experiential, and critical approaches to understanding language and intercultural interactions in the global workplace. And 10, the last, identify constructive ways to enhance language and intercultural communications in the global workplace. So these 10 learning objectives are going to be covered in today's sessions. Yeah. Now let's begin with the introductions. The idea about today's interconnected world economy has had a profound impact on the global workplace. Large corporations and even small businesses have become increasingly multicultural and multilingual. Migrations and global workforce mobility are resulting in more intercultural contacts as temporary workers and long-term expatriates intermingle with locals, including immigrants from many parts of the world. In organizations, it is now common for people to work together in teams or on projects with individuals who have different linguistic, religious, and cultural backgrounds or disabilities. All right, in this era, the globalization's era, countries are connected one and another, and everyone from all over the world can access and even can work or can do something in another country. They can have, right now, we can have a multicultural and multilingual environment around us. Yeah. So today we are going to discuss the situations in the workplace where we'll we'll be able to find intercultural communications there. So now let's continue. Globalizations and diversity in the workplace. What is globalizations? Of course, we had discussed this in the previous chapters. Globalization is not new. The exchange of ideas, goods, and people has long been a part of human story. Nowadays, communications and organizational operations increasingly cross national boundaries and involve global business operations. That's true. The exchange of these ideas, goods, and people right now are very easily to do. Communications and organizational operations right now increase all over the world. And all of these things involve and is influenced by the globalizations. Yeah. The term multinational businesses signifies the operations targeted toward and conducted in two or more countries, whereas a global business is a broader term meaning operations and strategies to serve a world market. There are a lot of multinational businesses right now, and we can very easily from one country to move and work in another country, or even we can make cooperations with a country, with a company from all over the world. Yeah. Globalizations and diversity in the workplace. Diversity encompasses differences among humans in terms of culture, language, race, ethnicity, gender, socioeconomic status, age, physical abilities, religious beliefs, political beliefs, or other ideologies. The diversity are everywhere. In a workplace, in a school, in a in many places, the diversity are around us, and we can find a lot of diversity, such as language diversity, race, ethnicity, and so on and so on. Surface level diversity refers to differences that are easily seen and generally verifiable via quick assessment of physical characteristics, including gender, age, race, and national origin or ethnicity. And these all can be easily identified. We can see the differences which is shown in the society through the diversity in the gender, in the age, race, national origin, or ethnicity. As opposite of the surface level diversity, we have also the deep level diversity, where this diversity lies below the surface and are not so easily observable. What are they? Attitudes, beliefs, knowledge, skills, and values or worldviews. All these things are not easily measured or even viewed by many people, by people. So this kind of the diversity, either about surface level diversity or even deep level diversity, are around us. Englishization, identity, and the global workforce. What is the relations of Englishization, identity, and the global workforce? Partly as a consequence of globalization, yeah, the dominance of global English in business and other sectors has strengthened significantly in recent decades. True that English right now, because of this power of the English, and now it becomes the international language. English is not only a language of wider communications in the modern world, but it is far more than that. It is in a singularly powerful sense. It is a global language. It is a commercial. It is a united language. It is a lingua franca, which are spoken by everyone all over the world. We can use this language as the global language of commerce, trade, culture, and research in the contemporary world. In a workplace, we could find a lot of differences, yeah, and there will be some benefits to have this kind of diversity in the workplace. What are they? We'll discuss this in this chapter. In today's globalized world, an organization's success increasingly depends on its ability to embrace and manage diversity, right? A diversity cannot be avoided, but we can manage the diversity. A multicultural and multilingual workforce can be beneficial in a number of ways. What are they? Of course, This can be helping people to become more adaptable, more flexible, and even our work can be more productive. Right. Now let us discuss one by one. The benefit of the diversity is to increase adaptability and productivity. Well, the diversity, through that, it cannot be avoided, but it can be managed. If we can manage it, manage the diversity very well, the diversity can help organizations become more adaptable to the increasingly complex, dynamic, and interconnected world in which we live and work. As well to unique individual characteristics, each employee possesses strengths derived from his or her own her linguistic, gender, and cultural socializations. Co-workers with diverse backgrounds, ages, religions, and attributes bring a unique experiences, ideas, and perceptions to groups and work teams. You know that when we are able to manage this diversity, we can have a lot of point of views and we can have a lot of benefits from this. And one of them is the increase of the productivity. Because of the variety of the workers in our company, then we can reach many people broader than only only um, situations where we only have the similarities in culture. But this diversity brings us to reach many people from different cultural backgrounds. Of course, there are a lot of benefits, and that is the first one. The second one is the synergy and enhance the creativity. Businesses and organizations that employ a diverse workforce can generate a greater variety of solutions to a wide range of issues. True, in our businesses, in our organizations, there will be there will be a range of issues, problems such as problems in service, sourcing, allocations of resources, labor disputes, and expansions in the global marketplace. But because we have employed from a diversity, from a greater variety, so we can have a greater variety of the solutions as well. Yeah. So this diversity can bring a lot of ideas and solutions. Yeah. The sharing of diverse experience can inspire idea creations and increase innovations. True. Um, this cultural synergy also has the benefit in variety or in diversity in workplace. It refers to the combined power of different cultural elements. Yeah, what elements? Yeah, the people from diverse backgrounds. This combined power of different cultural elements working together to create a greater, a stronger effect than if they were separate. In the global workplace, these collaborations can be a positive force for creativity and change. But again, it depends on how well we manage all this diversity. Next, enhance relations with diverse customers or clients. Right, with increasing global mobility, a company's current and potential customers or clients are more likely to come from a variety of linguistic and cultural backgrounds. Suppose that we only have one similar cultural background in our company, then we only can cover one kind of customer. But then if we have a lot of diversity, yeah, in linguistic or even in cultural backgrounds, then we can also cover and reach many people from the different linguistic and cultural backgrounds. A diverse workforce can strengthen the organization's relations within multicultural and multilingual populations and better meet the needs of specific customer groups. Minorities who are not fluent in the primary language of the community, members of a particular religion, yeah, our workers can help them to be to translate all these things and to serve them, yeah, using their master language. Next is the international reach. True that the diversity in terms of language competency and ethnic affiliations can also benefit company that has a global aspirations or ties, as well as interacting with local minorities. Bilingual or multilingual employees can help a business explore and enter new global market and cope with challenges of international partnerships. Right now, partnerships are open everywhere, all over the world. One nation can have a partnership from another country. Yeah, but then if we only have a bilingual situations, only have we are only providing just local cultural situations, or even we do not have this diversity. Of course, we cannot reach far away. We cannot reach international. But then because of this diversity, this multilingual employees, and they can help us to explore and enter new global markets all over the world. Business acumen refers to one's ability to understand business situations and make appropriate decisions in a short amount of time. This is what we need. Business acumen, where this acumen, that's where this party can help us to understand the business situations and, of course, to make appropriate decisions in a short amount of time. That is what we need in a business and workplace. Enhance reputations and competitive advantages. It cannot be denied that organizations that promote diversity and inclusions are much more likely to be viewed favorably by multicultural customers, local and global business partners, and the media. When a business develops a reputation as an open, inclusive workplace, it also has a greater chance of recruiting and retaining talented individuals from diverse backgrounds. That is the other benefits of to have this diversity. The other benefits is the personal growth and intercultural development, as well as enhancing the competitiveness of organizations. Workplace that has this diversity have the potential to stimulate, to enhance the personal skills, power, yeah, the personal growth in employees, in their leaders, yeah, and their leaders, exposure to new cultures, language, perspective, values, and behaviors can help individuals develop interculturally, psychologically, and socially. So the more we are exposed with the new cultures, with a new language, with a new perspectives, of course, everyone can learn and grow together. But then, all of these things might be impossible to be happen. It is also a challenge for a workplace to manage carefully and well in these situations. If we cannot do so, then it will be another challenge, another trouble. Yeah, there will be a lot of conflicts. Now, let's discuss the challenge of diversity in the workplace. When no one can be exempted from dealing with issues related to cultural diversity, establishing common ground with others, and developing the necessary empathy and degree of intercultural awareness while constantly challenging one's own perspective has therefore become almost in a daily obligations for all those involved in the work process. True that no one can be exempted. Yeah, will find difficulties, will find the issues and challenges because of the cultural diversity in our workplace. Then let us identify the challenges of this diversity. The first one is the language barrier. It is commonly happen that because of this diversity, there will be a lot of different languages. Individuals who are not fluent in the primary language of communications are disadvantaged in these situations. And of course, it can also be very challenging for a proficient speaker to explain ideas and procedures to a second language workers, yeah, or colleagues who are not fluent in the primary languages. So communications difficulties are compounded when jargon, slang, and special codes are used in a business context. There will be variety of language used in a workplace. But then if we are not having this language competence, of course, it will be a problem both for the people who are not fluent in the language and for both who are fluent in the language. Ineffective communications, of course, can result in a confusions, frustrations, misunderstandings, lack of teamwork, conflict, anger, and low morale. In worst case scenario, it can also result in accidents and injuries in the workplace. The other challenge is the translations and or interpreting limitations. What is translations? It refers to the written form of mediations, translations of written business document and text. Imagine that we incorrectly translate the written business documents or text. What will be happen? Of course, misinterpretations, misunderstanding. Interpreting, it is the oral form of translations. We interpret something incorrectly, that it brings to the very bad situations, very confusing. Yeah? Simultaneous interpreting refers to the act of interpreting while the speaker is talking. Imagine that the interpreter do not speak fluently the language. What would be happen? Of course, it is impossible to translate, to interpret properly the languages, the ideas, the documents, the text, the utterances. Consecutive interpreting takes place after the speaker has finished. All of these things got influenced because of the language that we master on. If we got difficulties or we don't have language competence, then the challenge is here. Next is the conflicting communication style. Workplace settings typically involve both individuals and group tasks. When people differ in terms of age, gender, language, culture, ethnicity, and many other aspects, sure, it can be difficult for them to work together in a productive way, especially if they have diverging communication styles and are unwilling to adapt. Everybody has their own styles, even we have the same language. We have different way of using the language. We have a direct language that is, some people might prefer to use the direct language that is giving explicit directions, clearly expressing likes and dislikes. But some people prefer to have indirect language that is something that is not directly uttered. Then people who might people make difficult to understand in these situations, or even hedging. For example, it may be that perhaps that my word, it appears that this uncertainty, of course, can influence uh, the the teams, the work, the jobs that is being that is done, that is that becomes uh, their duties right now. Yeah, variations in emotional display or nonverbal codes. Apart from the verbal codes, like language, nonverbal codes becomes the challenge in the situations. Workers may find some of the effective verbal and nonverbal behaviors, such as the emotional displays. And they, in a particular, the ways individuals from different cultural backgrounds respond to reprimands and requests may differ, and this can lead to misattributions and misunderstandings. True, we have certain way to express a politeness, to say yes, to say agree, to say no, to say other things, and perhaps it is different from people uh, around us. And if we cannot interpret this, if we cannot explain this properly, then people will not understand what we are intending to do. Then it will create a problem, a conflict, a challenge in our workplace. A clash in the values also becomes the challenge of the diversity in the workplace. Cultural values are judgments about what is considered good and bad, important and unimportant in a particular culture. True that during the enculturations, we learn what is acceptable and unacceptable behavior. But then what we learn is different from others, from what others learn. Yeah. Sometimes what we consider it is good, but sometimes it is not for others. So then we have to plan in our life that learning keep going. Learning continues when we enter the workforce. Conflict, interpersonal, intercultural, organizational, gender, etc. All these things are commonly happen in a workplace. Because of what? Of course, because of this diversity. When employees from diverse groups interact, they bring there with them ideas, values, and expectations that have been influenced by their upbringing and life experiences. Conflict that are repressed or denied may foster and build resentment and frustrations, creating additional problems for the organization. For example, if managers and employees are not skillful in managing disagreements in the workplace, they may spiral into conflicts that are more difficult to solve. Imagine that the conflict cannot be resolved. Accident, and even worse, killing or other things. Yeah, so that is the challenge in a workplace. Oppositions to change. In any work situations, employees may refuse to accept that the social, linguistic, and cultural makeup of their workplace has become or is becoming more diverse. Some may be uncomfortable working alongside people with disabilities or individuals who speak a different language, have different skin colors, or belong to another religion. Individuals may reject the notion that change is inevitable. To deal with resistant employees, companies need to clearly explain the reasons for diversity and identify the many benefits that diversity brings to both management and employees. Not all people are ready for this diversity, for these situations. Then there will be a lot of problems if we cannot avoid or even manage all this diversity. resistant to integrations. Newcomers who differ from the majority in terms of language, for example, ethnicity, age, physical ability, gender, etc. Of course, they find social integrations at work, and it's to be very challenging. For example, people from different ethnic or linguistic groups may cluster together and avoid social interactions with outsiders during breaks and lunches. And they just keep the distances from the majority, or even from other people. Then what will be happen? Is there any teamwork? No. There will be another challenge for these situations. And lack of social integrations among diverse employees can hinder interpersonal relations and limit the sharing of knowledge, ideas, skills, and experience. True that this can curb productivity, growth, and limit the effectiveness of teams. So what? How to handle these situations? How to handle this challenge? Of course, we have to explain, we have to know, and we have to have this kind of open mindset. Yeah, open, ready to receive this diversity. Yeah. The other thing is the gender differences. Gender becomes a very sensitive issue in all over the world in any kind of situations. Right now, in a workplace, because of this gender differences, it also triggers another problem. Some people don't want to work with a particular gender, for example, or they only want to work or work together with the same gender only, and they will get difficulties. They will find it difficult to work with other gender. Of course, the world contained a lot of differences, and gender is one of them. In some cultural contexts, males hold all or nearly all of the positions of power, and women, if employed at all, are assigned subservient or supportive roles. Even in organizations that have long been open to females, the number of female executives tends to be smaller in comparisons with males. Gender inequality in the global workplace remains a contentious issue in much of the world. But right now, gradually, day by day, have this concern about the gender differences becomes lower, become um, not, a, not become a big issue right now, because an equality is right now what we are struggling for. Yeah, as more females assume leadership role and participate in all of levels of an organization or company, males and females need to learn how to work together and demonstrate respect for each other. Are you still traditionally considering that male is superior and female is inferior? Or are you in a part of people who think that equality, the figure of male and females are equal? All right, ask yourself. Right now, these situations cannot be avoided. That we have to work together, even with a different gender. The other thing is the religious differences. It is very common. Yeah, in many cultures, religion plays a dominant role in daily life, including in the workplace. Some countries, some cultures, or some companies, they only receive a particular religion only, because they have because they set the criteria for only a particular religion. And of course, because they already set this criteria, their product cannot be used, or even they cannot reach a larger environment, because their product most probably only for their particular the particular religion only. Then when employees from different faith interact at work, conflict may arise. So sometimes because of different practices in religion, it becomes the conflict. Because of this diversity, these differences triggers a challenge in a workplace. Immigrants from nations where breaks are routinely given up for prayer, for example, may find it difficult to adjust to a secular work environment, where employees are discouraged from openly expressing religious differences. Attitude toward religion in the workforce varies significantly and can impact workforce relations. At the end, it can impact the workforce relations. We will not get any harmonic environment, romantic environment in a workplace. We cannot work together collaboratively. We don't have any teamwork. It is very difficult to manage. But is it possible to manage this all? It is. And the other challenge for the diversity in the workplace is the socio-cultural differences. Enculturations influences understanding of what social behaviors are considered appropriate in particular contexts and situations, including business contexts. Sociocultural differences. Sociocultural differences influence the understandings of what social behaviors are considered appropriate in a particular context and situations. What we believe, what we learn, what we consider appropriate and good in a particular context and situations sometimes are different from what people or other believe, what other learn, what other hold. For example, the business protocol, a general term that encompasses the discourse, non-verbal behavior, dress procedures, and social conventions that are expected with a particular company or organizations. This business protocol can be very different in one place to another place. And what the protocol that we use is certainly different from others. And business etiquette refers to rules that guide social behavior in a workplace situations. This business etiquette can be very challenging. When, for example, in greetings in the business meetings, the exchanging of business cards, seating arrangements in a business meeting or dinners, table manners in a business lunch and formal dinners. They can be learned, but then it takes time. We need time to learn this business etiquette. But the only way, the only key to manage the situation is the willingness to learn. But then this business etiquette is different from one place to another place. From what we believe as it is good and what other people in common as they think that their particular situation is good or not is different. These situations. In some country, maybe when we exchange the business card, they also have to give their business cards too. But some cultures may not. When they receive a business card, maybe they just directly save or keep on their pocket. Or even the seating arrangements in a business meetings or in a dinners. Some cultures might differentiate or classify based on the gender or age or other criteria, but some not. Then will it be a problem? Will it be confusion? Yes, it will create confusion. Business etiquette refers to guidelines for courtesy in the use of email and the internet for communications processes. The language used in internet, the communications using email, and the communications using other things like social media, of course, they are different. And there is a guideline of this. Yeah. The other challenge is the ethnocentrisms and assumptions of similarities. Ethnocentrisms, we are very familiar to discuss about the ethnocentrisms. Ethnocentric individuals elevate their own cultures or group to status or positions above all other cultures or groups. My culture is superior, more superior than other cultures. So this ethnocentric place. So what to do? Problems can occur between employees from different cultural backgrounds when individuals assume that their own cultural norms are the right way and the only way to accomplish tasks. Ethnocentric individuals may also wrongly believe that the patterns of behavior that they are accustomed to in their own cultural environment are universal. For example, what they say or do, think or believe is shared by everyone. Yeah. So be careful. Ask yourself whether you have ethnocentric mind or not. Because when you believe that only things or the best things is only from you, or what you have or what you do is the correct one, the best one comparing with others. Yeah. Prejudicial attitudes, discriminations, harassments, and racism. Workplace discriminations or employment discriminations refer to unfair practices in hiring, promotions, job assignment, terminations, and compensation. This discriminations is not only in a big environment but in a workplace, in a small businesses, in a school, in many environment, in many situations can be happened. So what is the discrimination? It is the act to show the unfairness. So there will be unfair practices in, for example, hiring, in promotion jobs, in a job assignment, in terminations and compensations. It also includes various types of harassment, that is behaviors of an offensive or threatening nature, because you are different in color, skin color, hairstyle, hobby, religion, culture, language, so you get easily to be discriminated. Sexual harassment in a workplace refers to repetitive and unwanted sexual advances, where the consequences of refusing could be very disadvantageous to the victim. For example, a female secretary who is propositioned by her manager may be directly or indirectly threatened with the loss of her job if she does not complete. Yeah, that is the situations. Now, the cultural differences. We have cultural differences frameworks and the global workplace. We have discussed a lot of the benefits and also the challenge of the diversity in a workplace. These sections reviews 5 models that have influenced the way intercultural communication is viewed in the global workplace. Yeah, halls, dimensions of culture differences, monochronic versus polychronic communications, high or low context communications, use of personal space, Cluckhand and Stroutbach's 1961, 5 values orientations, Hampton, Turner, and Trompiner's 7 value dimensions, Hofstede's value orientation framework, and the global cultural frameworks. We'll discuss all these cultural differences frameworks and the global workplace. Now let's discuss first from the Hall's dimensions of the cultural differences. Hall's 1998 introduced us with the cultural differences. Yeah, the cultural differences frameworks. There are conscious and unconscious culture, elements that are visible, explicit, and sensible, able to be sensed. And those that are invisible, nonverbal, and unconsciously learned from over time. Unconscious cultures include all dimensions of nonverbal communications, like the gestures, eye contact, or even facial expressions, differences in time orientations, use of personal space, silence. Yeah, these all are unconscious cultures where it is this element is invisible. Yeah. And the opposite of the unconscious cultures is the conscious cultures, where it falls into the low context communications framework, whereby most of the meaning is conveyed in the verbal code. Yeah, just speak it out. If you dislike or if you like, then you say verbally to show your feeling. So what you have spoken, what you are telling to others, it can be sensed. It is visible. Everybody can see this your feeling. Yeah. And next, let's talk about the Klachon and Stroutbach's cultural orientation framework. There are 5 problems or challenges that all cultures face based on Klachon and Stroutbach's. The first, what is the character of innate human nature? We're talking about the human nature orientations. Yeah. What is the relationship of the people to nature, the human and the nature orientation? And what is the temporal focus of human life? This is the time orientations. For example, future, present, or past oriented ways of thinking and acting. What is the modality of human activity? That is the activity orientations. For example, doing or actions oriented as opposed to being, which is a person's oriented. And the last is, what is the modality of an individual's relationship to other people? The the relational orientations. Next, let's continue with the Hampton, Turner, and Trompener's value dimensions. Yeah. 7 dimensions of cultural variability. Yeah. Universalism versus particularism. It is talking what is the most important rules or relationship. Yeah. Universalism refers to the applications of the same rules for everyone, regardless of their status or relationship. And universalists try to treat people fairly based on a certain standards or even rules. Yeah. Whereas the particularisms is different. Individuals may be treated differently, yeah, depending on the interpersonal relationships and obligations. Yeah. And individualisms versus collectivisms. Do we function in a group or as individuals? As individuals, the treatment is different. Yeah. For the individualisms, we work individually. Everything is individual. And collectivisms for those who prefer to work collaboratively. That is the cultural differences frameworks on the global workplace. And the third one is natural versus emotional. The question is that, do we display our emotions or do we hide them? It is an option. It is a choice. And we learn whether we want, and it is a preference, whether we want to display our emotions or we would like to hide them. The fourth one, specific versus diffuse. The question is that, do we handle our relationship in specific and predetermined ways, or do we see our relationships as changing and related to the contextual settings? So we have a specific relationship in specific ways, in a predetermined ways, or our relationships is changing and related to contextual settings. Yeah. And achievement versus ascriptions. Do we have to prove ourselves to receive status, or is the status given to us? Which one? What do we think about this? Do we have to prove ourselves to receive status, or even status just is given to us? Yeah. And sequential versus synchronic. Do we do things one at a time, or several things at once? That is the dimensions of cultural variability. And also the seventh one, internal versus external control. Do we believe that we can control our environment, or do we believe that the environment controls us? Those are the 7 dimensions of cultural variability. To determine the impact of culture on people's behavior choice, yeah, this Hamden, Turner, and Trumpner's define scenarios of everyday dilemmas with limited numbers of possible resolutions. The results of this study have been used in a business context to understand intercultural interactions and provide these expatriates with guidance on how to perform tasks and communicate with people in different cultures. According to Hofstede's values orientations framework, power distance, where it refers to the degree to which less powerful members of the society or organizations expect and accept the unequal distributions of power among members. So it refers to the degree to which less powerful members of a society, yeah, or organization and accept the unequal the distributions of the power members. Small or low power distance cultures have a tendency to stress equality, self-initiative, and collaborative problem solving with supervisors and employees, for example. Punishments and rewards tend to be distributed based on individuals' performance. In a small power distance culture, it may be normal for a employer, for a manager of a company, and a constructions worker to be on the first name basis. Yeah. Whereas in a high power distance cultures, this will be unthinkable. Femininity and masculinity. It refers to the extent to which gender roles are valued. Extent to which gender roles are valued and attitudes toward ascribes masculine values, achievement, ambitions. Yeah? Feminine cultures promote gender equality, interpersonal contact, flexible balancing of life and work, and group decisions making. Whereas the masculine cultures stress distinct differences in gender and gender roles between men and women in the workplace. Uncertainty avoidance refers to the tendency of a culture's members to feel threatened by ambiguous situations and to strive to avoid uncertainty. Countries with low or weak uncertainty avoidance, yeah, tend to be more risk-taking, less rule-governed, and more accepting of dissent. Countries with strong uncertainty avoidance, yeah, are more averse to risk-taking. They tend to favor rules and regulations and seek consensus about goals. Next is the individualisms and collectivisms. Individualisms refers to the broad value tendencies, yeah, of a culture to stress personal over group goals and to have weaker group and organizational loyalty, while the collectivisms refer to the broad value tendencies of a culture to focus on collaborations, shared interests, long-term relationships, traditions, harmony, and maintaining faith. Individualisms, this cultural framework stress to personal over group goals and to have a weaker group and organizational loyalty because they are individualisms. But then for the collectivisms, they value the tendencies of a culture to focus on the collaboration, work together, teamwork, yeah, and long-term relationships. The fifth one is the fifth dimensions, Confucian's dynamism. The Confucian dynamisms orientations emphasize persistence, personal stability, traditions, frugality, respect for others, status-oriented relationships, long-term orientations to time, hard work, a sense of shame, and collective faith saving. These Confucian values are often credited with a dramatic economic growth in the five dragons, for example, Hong Kong, Taiwan, Japan, Singapore, and South Korea. Now, the globe cultural framework. What is a globe cultural framework? Yeah. 6 of the 9 globe dimensions resemble those put forward by Hosted 2001 to address institutional and group collectivisms, gender egalitarianism, power distance, uncertainty avoidance, and future orientations. The other dimensions that have been added include assertiveness, that is the extent to which people in organizations are strong-willed and confrontation, performance orientations, and that is a degree to which an organization rewards members for their participations and quality of work, and humane orientations, the extent to which an organization rewards members for being kind and fair to others. Yeah. This cultural differences frameworks and the global in the globe cultural frameworks dimensions resemble uh, um, sorry address institutional and group collectivisms based on the gender, egalitarianisms, power distance, uncertainty avoidance, and future orientations. And these dimensions have been aided like assertiveness, where the extent to which people in organizations are strong-willed and confrontational, and performance orientations. For example, some countries, some cultures, some companies, they appreciate and they give the rewards for the members for their participations and quality of work. Yeah. That is the globe cultural framework. Now let's talk the impact of the frameworks on the global business research, educations, and practice. Business students and professionals across the globe are still using cultural differences framework to identify the core values and assumptions of their own culture, as well as the target of host culture. International clients from a particular nation, for example, armed with this awareness of cultural differences. In theory, business professionals are better positioned to predict difficulties that might arise when they interact with colleagues and clients from other cultures. It is believed that this knowledge can help them avoid intercultural misunderstandings. Yeah, for example, by using culture-specific strategies, adjusting their communication style, and so on and so forth. And more effectively, they feel that it is more effectively to resolve difficulties or conflict when they arise. Among cultural differences, different frameworks described above. In this theory, um, the hosts, this situations, yeah, continues to dominate intercultural business training as well as communications research in the business and management studies. For example, cross-cultural marketing surveys of potential customer values, investigations of values impacting on the business negotiations in the different cultures. This impact of the frameworks on the global business research. Yeah. There is this difference frameworks is used to identify the core values and assumptions of their own culture as well as the target of the host cultures. Some companies has these frameworks. And limitations and dangers of the cultural differences framework. Although still widely used in intercultural business education, training, and research, culture difference frameworks are not without critics. There are a lot of critics about this culture difference framework. Different understanding of culture, questions about the methodologies employed in taxonomy studies, perceptions of Western or Eurocentric bias, and the potential for overgeneralizations have resulted in many publications that rally against their use, or at a minimum, recommend that users exercise caution when interpreting and applying the findings. Well, there are a lot of critics and disagreement about this culture difference frameworks in a workplace. Alternative approach to intercultural business research, education, and practice. There are, of course, alternative approaches, and we'll discuss this. More ethnographic studies, interactional social-linguistic explorations, and critical studies of intercultural business interactions, such as critical discourse analysis, are needed to inform practice. For example, the design and delivery of business intercultural education workshops and courses. Intercultural communications in organizations and business does not take place in a power factor, nor does it typically involve equal power relations. More contextualized studies are therefore needed that take into account on the power dimensions in intercultural interactions, whether in domestic or international setting. Noting the limitations and dangers of culture difference framework are calling for the context-specific analysis of intercultural communication in business context. Yeah. In a particular, more ethnographic studies are needed to inform the practice. Intercultural communications in organization and business doesn't take place in power vacuum, yeah, nor does it typically involves the equal power relations. Yeah. Instead of relying on a cultural difference framework in a business organ educations, critical intercultural educators focus on the real world intercultural interactions and expatriates modes of learning. All right. Now let's move to the enhancing intercultural communications in today's global workplace. It is the climax of this class today. And this is what we are waiting for. How to enhance the intercultural communication in today's global workplace. The suggestion is that first, acknowledge diversity in a workplace. It is very important to recognize and also acknowledge the diversity that exists in a work environment. We cannot have everything as what we desire. We cannot only work with people that only have similar styles, skills, language, but we will find very much diversity in our environment, in our workplace. The diversity can take many forms, such as differences in age, language, gender, race, so on and so forth. Then we need to appreciate, we need to acknowledge this. Second one, becoming more knowledgeable about linguistic and cultural dimensions. In today's era, in a globalization, in a global workplace, employees must build strong linguistic and cultural awareness in order to enhance their intercultural communication skills. And of course, it results in an effective and productive work at the workplace. It is very useful to learn how enculturations influence attitudes, language use, beliefs, business ethic, so on and so on. The third one, demonstrate second language sensitivity. If you're using the first language with the co-workers or customers who are not fluent in a language, in this language, then use the second language. So demonstrate the appreciations for the efforts they are making and provide assistance when necessary. Yeah. Demonstrate second language sensitivity is very important. Next is become more self-aware, as well as learning more about other ways of being. It is essential to be mindful of how your own linguistic and cultural socializations and life experience have shaped our attitudes yeah, our perceptions, our values, and even our identities and communications behaviors. And culturations, of course, impact on how we perceive and interact with people from other cultural backgrounds. It is vital to recognize attitudes and behaviors that are holding you back from adopting a more ethno-relative and inclusive perspective. Recognize one biases. This ability, the ability to communicate effectively with coworkers or clients who have a different linguistic or cultural background, or who differ from you in other ways, such as who are different in a gender, age, or even in a physical disability, requires awareness of our personal biases, yeah, and expectations, of course. Next is the be flexible. It is also important to be flexible. In this global workplace, you are bound to encounter different ways of speaking and doing things. And insisting that your way is the only way is not conducive to harmony or productivity. So flexible individuals who demonstrate interest and respect for other way of being are far more likely to encourage, to be encouraged. Yeah. So we are flexible to accept the ideas, accept this difference, yeah, and expand repertoire of communications or conflict management styles. In today's workforce, we encounter unfamiliar styles of communications, verbal and non-verbal, and also conflict management. So we have to be familiar, we have to have a familiar, we have to make an effort to develop a range of communication strategies and tools that can become, that can help us to have more effective and appropriate communication in intercultural situations in our workplace. Be patient and humble is, of course, very fundamental and crucial. Keep an open mind and respect diversity, and also advocate equity in the workplace. That is what we need in today's life, in this global workplace. We are heading to the end of this session, and we have talked a lot about these differences and also the benefit and also the challenge of the diversity in the workplace. The only way is this: we have to have open mind, where we believe that we acknowledge the diversity around us. Don't try to change others, but change ourselves. Whether we are ready or not with the situations, we have to be ready. Thank you so much for today. Bye-bye.